Welcome to the Ducks Unlimited podcast, the only podcast about all things waterfowl. From hunting insights to science-based discussions about ducks, geese, and issues affecting waterfowl and wetlands conservation in North America, we bring the resource to you, the DU Podcast.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Ducks Unlimited podcast. This is the DUX edition, the Ducks Unlimited Expo that's going to be held April 8 through 10 at the Texas Motor Speedway. My name is David Schusler. I'm Ducks Unlimited's National Director of Event Fundraising and R3 Programs. We're going to talk a little bit about DUX today, and I have two very special guests that are going to help me do that. The first one being Carl Gunzer, who is from Purina. Carl is Purina's Director of Sporting Dog Group, and it's important that Carl is with us because Purina Pro Plan is the presenting sponsor of the DUX for the second year. Carl, it is great to have you with us on the podcast today.
Thanks, David. Great to be here, and we're really looking forward to seeing you and everybody else, in about 5 or 6 weeks in April.
I'm looking forward to April, Carl, because we did this thing in June last year. And for anybody who's ever been to Texas, June is hot, and we did it in late June, and we had to because of COVID restrictions. That was the only weekend that we could slip into Texas Motor Speedway's calendar after we had to cancel it earlier in the year because we were all still inside. I am thrilled that it's going to be in April. I imagine the dogs are going to be thrilled that it's in April as well.
Absolutely. The dogs, all of us, vendors and exhibitors, and I think the people coming to attend the event as well. It's a lot better timing than, it was pretty rough in the heat. It was good. It didn't rain, but I know down on the blacktop it was in the upper 90s, and it made things challenging. So April should be great.
It's going to be, and it's going to be great for a lot of the demonstrations that you're bringing in with your team from Purina. And I'd like to talk a little bit about these today, 5 specifically, because I was able to watch some of these last year, and they're just absolutely incredible to see how highly trained some of these dogs are. You know, being an avid waterfowl hunter, I've hunted over great dogs my entire life. What you're able to bring in is a level above great dogs. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And some of these names are probably familiar to some of our listeners. The first being Mike Stewart with Wild Rose Kennels. Tell us a little bit about what Mike's going to be bringing to the DUX this year.
Sure. I think probably most of the DU members know Mike pretty well as he's the owner of Wild Rose Kennels, and now they have several locations, including one in Dallas that's managed by Guy Billups. And so they put on a great show that is a combination of entertaining and educational. They call it the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Gun Dogs, and while it applies to gun dogs, it really applies to all dogs. And it's a great mix of education, entertainment, audience participation, dogs jumping over things. I think at one point they got 2 or 3 dogs retrieving and crossing paths, and so it's really a fun deal. And one of the great things is, besides doing these demonstrations, we're going to have Mike Stewart and all of these other presenters in our booth with us. So if people have questions, they want to come talk dogs, or spend some time with these experts, they can just come and do it. You don't have to. It's a great opportunity for people that have an interest in dogs, dog training, to just come hang out at the Purina booth and visit with these guys. That's
really great. And I think it's incredible what Purina's doing to bring that type of expertise inside of Texas Motor Speedway, whether you're a hunter or whether you're just an avid dog owner, to have those folks to talk to. Another name that's coming with Purina to DUX that I think people would recognize is Tom Dawkin. And if anybody's ever used the Dawkin deadfowl training dummy, this is the gentleman that invented it, correct?
Absolutely. And Tom is one of my favorites. He is trained dog. I mean, his Oak Ridge Retriever Kennel up there in Minnesota is probably the largest training kennel in the northern half of the United States anyway. And Tom has literally trained thousands of dogs. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's one of those people that there's a lot of really great dog trainers, but Tom has that ability to also talk to people and explain things in a way that they can understand. So another great presenter. He also, he's the president of the National Shed Hunting Dog Association. Last year he did a demo on shed hunting, and that's becoming really popular. It's a great time. Like right now, it's a super time of year to be out shed hunting with dogs. And so, it's really interesting. If people have a desire to do that, they want to learn how to shed hunt with their dog. Well, Tom's really one of the guys that really started it.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think what I've seen, and I've watched some videos online, is you can take any dog and train it to be a shed hunter. Unlike some of the hunting pursuits that we do, that you need this certain type of retriever or this certain type of dog, I think people are using dogs from all different lineages to get into shed hunting.
Yeah, that's right. If they've got a desire, a drive to, retrieve or fetch or, run or point or hunt, they can hunt sheds. So, you don't have to have a Labrador. Labradors tend to be the most effective, or I would say they're the most often. How about that? But
right.
They're also the most popular dog. Speaking of different breeds, another guy coming is really exciting, Jordan Horak. Jordan owns Juggernaut Gun Dogs, but he also started a company called Cato Outdoors that manufactures dog training equipment, these boards that he's kind of developed this training method utilizing these boards. It's really nothing new, but he's done a great job of it. In fact, Jordan won the 2018 National Open and National Amateur English Cocker Championship. So he'll have some little flushing dogs as English Cockers, and the way he trains them, the way they run around to these place boards and sit and retrieve and all that is really incredible. It's another exciting, kind of entertaining demonstration.
That's great. I think the next one that I wanted to talk about, I don't believe we had them at the DUX last year, and that's the Pro Plan Performance Team. At least I don't remember seeing this. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like this is kind of the variety show out there of some dogs that are pretty athletic in what they do for the audience.
Absolutely. So you're right. We weren't able to bring them last year because it's such an active demonstration with dogs running, jumping, catching discs, doing agility demonstrations, all that. It was really going to be too hot in late June. So we had to put them on hold. But this is the more, I guess, family fun, entertaining thing. They do all kinds of different tricks that are, like you said, it's kind of like almost a variety show. It's some of it's frisbee or flying disc, but there's agility, there's jumping, rolling on a barrel, and half a dozen dogs out there at the same time and doing tricks. It's really a fun, entertaining, fast-paced show.
That's great. I know that's one that I'm going to have to stop what I'm doing to make sure that I come and watch that one, because I've read a little bit of the background on it, and I know that all of the DUX attendees are going to be thrilled with that one as well. I've saved, I don't want to say the best for last, because all of these are fantastic demonstrations, but what I've saved for last is the one that I believe garnered the most oohs and ahs last year, which is the Border Collie herding demonstration by Chad Collins and his group Quack Pack USA, which blew my mind last year, what Chad is able to do with his Border Collies.
Yeah, and one of the fun things is last year he did it with just 2 dogs. This year he'll have 3 dogs. So each of these dogs is on a different whistle command. He's herding sheep and ducks, and each of these dogs responds to a different whistle. So he can move each dog independently, and he can sort of drive and put those ducks wherever he wants them. And last year we started playing around. Mike Stewart brought a few of his dogs out there and put them on a sit stay, and Chad started herding the ducks kind of in a figure 8 around the dog. And this year we're going to play with even more of that. So, it's you get a couple dog trainers together, and I don't want to say, hold my beer and watch this, but it gets creative. So it'll be fun to see what those guys come up with this time. We might, who knows what we'll do, but it'll be fun for sure. And it's really, it's another one where we have some audience participation. Usually we have a couple kids out there, and it's really pretty amazing and a little more unusual. Everybody's seen the Labrador retrieve a dummy, but when you have a border collie herding ducks or 3 of them. It's really entertaining.
That's really, really neat. A lot of people might not know that at the DUX, dogs are welcome as long as your dog is on a leash. We encourage our folks to bring their pets with them as well as their kids. Kids 12 and under are free, and the DUX is only a $10 a day entry fee. So this is really an event where everybody should be able to come out, not spend a lot of money, and enjoy a full day of everything outdoors. In addition to the dog village, we have our fishing village. We have the ability to test drive ATVs. We have the shooting village, which is outside of the Oval, just a short tram ride where firearm manufacturers like Beretta and H&K have their professionals there, where some of our attendees, if so desired, can go and try out some of the new shotguns and hunting rifles that are on the market today. So a great time for everybody at the DUX. Now, Carl, you obviously will be very busy in the dog village, but if you have a chance to break free out of your responsibilities, what would you want to go and do at the DUX, given that you were there last year in our inaugural year and got to see all of the things that the event has to offer?
Well, I don't know that I want to tee up your next guest just yet, but I love listening to and watching duck calling contests. I like you and probably most of the listeners, I have grown up in the duck hunting and waterfowling fraternity, and I really enjoy hearing the best of the best blow their duck calls. So that's one thing I will definitely schedule. And then I like getting around to visiting a lot of the different vendors. Purina has working relationships with a lot of the vendors that are there at DUX, from Yeti and Gunner Kennels and different groups. So for me, I don't want to say it's like SHOT Show, but it's kind of a mini SHOT Show where you can get around and see all the different products and people that you don't get to see every day. And now that COVID's kind of in the rearview mirror, I think we're going to see a lot more participation and people to visit.
I agree with you. I believe the change up earlier in the year with cooler temperatures, as well as putting this pandemic behind us, will make for a great expo this year. We had more than 42,000 people attend last year over 3 days. We're certainly expecting to see an increase in attendance this year with the change of date and a little cooler temperatures. And Carl, I just, on behalf of Ducks Unlimited, we enjoy such a wonderful relationship with Purina. I'm a Purina Pro Plan user. I was before Purina and Ducks Unlimited even came together as corporate partners. And without Purina's support, things like the DUX just simply could not happen. So thank you so much for your support, for Purina's support, and for being here with us today.
Well, it's a privilege, and it's one of the highlights of my job is to get to work with DU and the DUX event. And I encourage anybody that's coming out, come visit us. We're going to be giving away samples. We'll have veterinarians in the booth. People have questions. We'd love to meet everyone and talk dogs, and I think it'll be a great event.
Great. Thank you so much. Carl mentioned the best of the best on the stage at the calling contest that will be held at the DUX, and he is exactly correct in when he said the best of the best. Our next guest is Hayden Richard.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Hayden, how are you doing today?
Good.
Hayden, for those that don't recognize his name, and many probably do, Hayden was the 2021 World's Champion duck caller. He was crowned as such at the Wings Over the Prairie Festival in Stuttgart the Saturday after Thanksgiving of last year. But Hayden's path to becoming the world champion actually started at the DUX last year.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to win the great contest that y'all put on. Man, I was excited about that.
And Hayden, I don't know if you remember this, but you traveled to the DUX with Brooke Richard, and there's no relationship, same last name, or I shouldn't say no relationship. You're not related, and. Yeah. I believe, if I remember correctly, you were running a little bit late. And Brooke, who works for Higdon Outdoors, who is the sponsor of all of our calling contests at the DUX, called me on my cell phone. And he said, Mr. David, we late, and I need you to come pick me up. And so I rode out and picked y'all up in one of the Kubota haulers. And Brooke jumped in and pointed in the back to you. And he told me, he said, that's who's going to win your regional championship. And it came true, didn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, that story. Yeah, actually, we met up. We really are close, and we were at the hotel. And he's like, "Hey, you don't mind if I ride with you?" I said, "No, we were running a little late." It was funny because he did call you up, and he did say that, and I was prepared for it. Don't get me wrong; I kind of knew I was going there to win that. I actually skipped a contest the week before that or 2 weeks before that just so that I could prepare for that DU regional. I actually missed the meat contest before there. Just, and I really was trying to win that big regional because there was a good hefty payout there. It was worth my time to put in the work and try to go win that big regional. And it actually came out, worked out real well.
It sure did. And a lot of people don't know how the regionals and the state competitions roll up. So for those listening today, the way it works is the World's Duck Calling Championship is owned, so to speak, by the Stuttgart, Arkansas Chamber of Commerce. And they sanction state-level calling contests throughout the country where if somebody wins that state contest, they qualify to travel to the Wings Over the Prairie Festival Thanksgiving weekend and compete in the Worlds. And then they also allow a select number of groups to hold what's called regional contest. And Ducks Unlimited is one of those groups that holds a sanctioned regional. And when we created the DUX, we knew that we needed to take the regional there because it's such a popular platform from people from multiple states to come in and blow in. And so you qualified there and then eventually went to Stuttgart and won the whole thing. A few questions for you about that. You are the number one duck caller in the world, but you can't blow in this year's competition, can you?
No. So the good thing and the bad thing about winning Worlds, which there's not many bad things about winning Worlds, is you're the first person to be qualified for the following year. So when you win, you automatically qualify. Well, the whole point of the regional and the state contest is to qualify people for Worlds. So they basically have a rule that says you can't win twice, which is fair because you want as many people as you can to be qualified and make it to Stuttgart, correct?
Sure.
So basically because of that, because I'm already qualified, because I won the Worlds, I cannot pretty much blow in any regional or any state level contest. So yeah, I get to sit on the sideline and judge.
That's right. And you will be a judge this year for not only the regional, but what we call the DUX championship. So the regional is that standard one person blowing in the traditional competition style to qualify to go to the Worlds. We also hold other competitions there that just isn't that style, which I think a lot of people refer to as meat contests, more of what you would hear in a blind. But a lot of callers like yourself, you would compete in both if you had the opportunity, correct?
I really want to. Normally I do. So like last year at the DU, I think I walked off with the regional. I had the team spec, the team meet. I had second in the single spec. I think I was like fifth in the single meet. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, I think I walked off with like 5 or 6 top 5s out of y'all contest. Worked out in my favor.
It was a good weekend for you.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, the cash payout inside of the DU regional is pretty hefty. In fact, it's the largest cash payout across the country of any of the qualifiers to go to Worlds at $5,000 to the overall winner. And we are keeping that same prize structure this year. There's also prizes as well as I believe some cash prizes for second place and third place and some of the different levels inside of the competitions. But it really is a full weekend of duck calling and goose calling where you can hear some of the best in the world, and those people who were at DUX last year ended up hearing the best in the world when they listened to Hayden Richard blow.
Yeah, unfortunately enough, it was. But yeah, there actually is. There's gonna be multiple levels. In my opinion, Main Street. There's a certain amount of people that like Main Street, and most of the guys that understand the contest world really do enjoy the Main Street contest. Most people love to hear the meat contest more than anything, right? Because it's more basic. It relates to more people that blow in duck blinds. So I think the meat contest, in my opinion, is something that's more public friendly. You'll hear some really good guys in the meat contest. I know Domingo Sanchez is coming back. Pretty sure there's a bunch of other guys from the Midwest, like Dan Getz and Corey Nickham and all these guys. I'm pretty sure some of them guys are going to show up. You'll hear some really good guys blowing that meat contest and the regional also. I mean, still got a few guys that are, I say still got a few guys. It's really early in the year. I think we only got 4 people qualified for Worlds at this moment. So you still got a lot of good names on the table for that regional. I mean, guys that could beat me any day of the week, right? I mean, it is what it is.
Well, maybe they didn't beat you last year.
No, last year was my year, but that's just part of it. We always laugh about it. To win the Worlds, you just got to be consistently there every year and put yourself in contention and just kind of wait for your time. Honestly, I know people don't understand that sometimes when you say that, but a lot of things have to align for you to win the Worlds, especially for someone like me and myself and a lot of these guys that qualify every year. I mean, I've only qualified for 4 years, but I've been chasing it forever. You see it that there's a lot of things that have to come into play, and people don't understand that as outside of contests. Like there's never going to be a time where someone just goes and runs a bunch of wins at Worlds just because it's so complicated. When you got 60 guys blowing in Main Street, 20 of those guys, honestly, are some of the best in the world. Like there's 20 guys out of 60 that can win consistently. But there's 40 people in that group of 60 that can blow clean that night and probably win. So it's hard to understand. It's hard for people to understand that it's really hard. And it's one contest a year. That's it. Like you don't have 2 Worlds a year. You don't have your whole year preparing to qualify, and then you got to practice for one night. So it's a lot.
I've been fortunate to talk to several of the callers who have won the World Championship. And one thing I heard from one, and I can't remember exactly which one told me this, I think it might have been John over at Rich and Tone, is that it's a lot like March Madness in that you're just peaking at the right time. You see those basketball teams every spring that just get hot and the shots are falling and there aren't any mistakes, there aren't any turnovers. And I think it's that way with calling too. You get in the zone and there aren't any squeaks, and you feel that everything is right. And like you said, last year was your year for that.
Yeah. And a lot of times it depends on people don't realize, but you have 5 people judging you, not machines, people. You have human beings judging you. And unfortunately in the world, human beings all have faults, and we all do. We all make mistakes. It's a human judgment. You have to understand that every time you get 5 different judges, a contest can go a whole different route. So at the same time, you're preparing for a contest. But like I said, if you're not there every year and prepared every year, then you're not going to win anyway. But you have to be prepared every year for it. You have to be there every year. And then you got to basically depend on getting the right 5 judges that like your style. Because even though Main Street is very structured, we all have our differences. Every one of us in the Main Street calling world are all trying to be different. We're all trying to put our own flair on a routine to make ourselves sound better or to separate ourselves. What that does is it causes differences. And when it comes to humans judging a contest, there will always be differences. So
sure.
It's true. You just got to be there every year, though. That's the whole point of it. You have to be there every year.
Right.
You got some guys that Michael Steinmeier, he won the Worlds the year before. He wins in 2019. He's qualified like 15 times and placed top 5. I don't know how many times. I don't know how many times he's placed top 10. And the guy's really good. But that was the deal. He kept getting there, knocking on that door and being prepared. And he was prepared every year that when it was going to go his way, it was going to go his way. It went his way in 2019. He comes back this year. I think he places 3rd behind me. He goes below in champion. He actually had a little small mistake. He probably would have won that contest without having that mistake. He goes in champion of champions, wins champion of champions. He's fully retired now. 15 years of qualifying. 2 years later, he's completely retired out of it and one of the greats, just like that.
It's so much like sports, and for those that have never been to a calling contest, it's it's a great thing to go and watch, to see people use literally these musical instruments. I mean, if you look at a duck call, that's what it is, a musical instrument. And we're excited about you coming and being a part of the judge crew at DUX, given that you can't blow in those competitions because you're automatically qualified for next year. And we were very proud that our champion from our regional went on to really represent Ducks Unlimited and represent the DUX on Main Street in Stuttgart last year. So thank you for doing that for the organization. One last question for you, and I should know this, Hayden, and I don't. What duck call do you blow in when you're blowing in competitions?
So I use strictly Rice and Custom calls. So Rice and Custom calls started off as a spec call business more than anything.
Right.
So I'm very well versed in blowing speckle belly calls. I'm actually, when I guide, that's what I guide for geese. I actually guide goose hunts. I guide speckle bellies and snow goose hunts. That's what I'm pretty much known for in the guide industry. I used to duck hunt a bunch when I was a kid, but South Louisiana just don't have the ducks like we used to. So now we pretty much chase geese. We've always built duck calls, but the last 5 years, we really kind of took a charge at rebranding our duck call and rebuilding our duck call. And I've been blowing the same duck call for the last 4 years I've qualified. I've been blowing the same Riceland Main Street call. Actually, this year, we're coming out with a new meat call, and we're redesigning all our duck calls just because of the fact that, we are a duck call company also. So Riceland Custom Calls out of Hayes, Louisiana.
Right. Well, don't lose that call if you used it for 4 years.
I will never, when I travel, I don't travel with it unless I have to blow in a contest with it.
Keep it under lock and key.
I do.
Well, I greatly appreciate Carl and Hayden joining us today to talk a little bit about the DUX, what's coming up April 8 through 10 at the Texas Motor Speedway. For everybody to learn more, please go to duckexpo.com, duckexpo.com. There you can learn about all of the villages, the hours of the show, the very low cost to attend, which is only $10 for adults, and everything else DUX. And I greatly look forward to seeing everybody there. Again, this is a special episode of the DU podcast talking about the DUX. My name is David Schusler, and I've enjoyed being with you today. Thanks again, Carl. Thanks again, Hayden. We'll see everybody in the duck blind soon.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the DU podcast. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. And visit www.ducks.org/DU podcast for resources based on today's topics, as well as access to more episodes. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of Ducks Unlimited. Until next time, stay tuned to the Ducks.